Listen. Do you hear that silence? That sharp, surgical kind of quiet that cuts through a room like a blade? That's not absence of noise. That's the sound of recognition. Because a second ago, everyone was laughing, whispering, shifting in their seats. Then the most dangerous person in the room said your name, and the whole network froze. And in that instant, something shifted, not just in them, in you. You felt the air compress, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Because they weren't just saying a name, they were sounding an alarm. They don't whisper your name because they respect you. They whisper it because they can't map you. Because your existence is a living paradox. Saint and psychopath, angel and demon, healer and hurricane. You've turned unpredictability into power, and pain into a kind of prophecy. Every move you've made until now looked random to them. Erratic, reckless. But now, in the reflection of their own panic, they see it. It was design, a pattern hidden in chaos, an evolution they didn't anticipate. You aren't in this room as a guest. You're in this room as a mirror. And when the apex predator spoke your name, every mask slipped. Their fear bled through their rehearsed smiles. Their bodies betrayed the truth their mouths refused to say. You are not a statistic. You are a signal. The most dangerous person didn't expose you. They validated you. They confirmed what they all suspected, but never dared articulate. That you are no longer a player in their game. You are the glitch that corrupts it. You've taken everything meant to break you. The betrayals, the silences, the locked doors, and metabolized it into precision. Not revenge, alignment. You don't react anymore. You anticipate. You don't chase, you pull. You don't fight for approval. You wield inevitability. That's what freezes a network. Not violence, certainty. They're not terrified of what you'll do next. They're terrified because deep down, they know you've already decided, and they won't know until it's too late, whether you've come to liberate them or to burn them. You can feel it, can't you? That flicker in their eyes. A tremor between awe and dread. Because when they look at you, they see both their judge and their executioner. They see a halo welded from barbed wire. They see mercy weaponized. They see someone who walked into hell, shook hands with the devil, and came back holding the blueprints. You didn't earn this power by being untouchable. You earned it by being unbreakable. Every scar on your body is a coordinate in a map they'll never decode. Every time you were underestimated, you added another layer to the cipher of who you've become. And now your very presence is a recalibration. You are not their enemy. You are their reckoning. You are the living proof that the pain they engineered to crush you instead built a mind that moves like smoke and a will that cuts like steel. You know what's even more dangerous than being unpredictable? Being unpredictable on purpose. Every blink, every pause, every smile. Choreographed like a chess match they can't see. That's why the room froze. That's why the network glitched. That's why the most dangerous person here spoke your name like an invocation. Because deep down, they weren't warning others about you. They were warning themselves. Your name isn't a label anymore. It's a code word. It's a trigger phrase. It's the sound of old systems collapsing under the weight of a new kind of power. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to become inevitable. So let them freeze. Let them whisper. Let them wonder which version of you they've awakened. Because by the time they realize, it will already be too late. Your name has already left their lips, and once spoken, it doesn't echo. It detonates. Do you feel how heavy the air just got? That isn't your imagination. That's what it feels like when a room realizes it's sitting inside a storm it can't predict. That's what it feels like when a name stops being a sound and starts being a signal. Because in that moment, when the most dangerous person in the room spoke your name, it wasn't gossip, it wasn't drama, it was an act of recognition, and recognition is the one thing they cannot allow. They've built their power on keeping faces faceless, souls silent, stories hidden. But you refused. You crawled out of the holes they dug for you, still bleeding, still laughing, still seeing. They wanted you broken because broken things can be catalogued. But you became a contradiction, wounded but weaponized, gentle but lethal, chaotic but exact. You can see it in their eyes now. The shift. They're no longer sure which mask to wear. Because every time they look at you, they see two beings layered over each other. The one they tried to bury, and the one that crawled back up with claws. An angel's posture with a demon's patience. A savior's voice with an executioner's timing. They built models, simulations, predictive algorithms. They tried to plot your trajectory on graphs. But how do you map someone who no longer reacts, who moves on codes of their own making? They thought pain would make you small. They thought isolation would make you desperate. But pain became your architecture. Isolation became your training ground. Now your unpredictability isn't chaos. It's discipline. Every silence is a weapon. Every glance is a reconnaissance. Every step is a disruption of their narrative. That's why the network froze. Not because they don't know who you are, but because they finally do. They see that you are not an accident. You are a design flaw they cannot patch. A living breach. A man or woman who turned the rules inside out and learned to speak the language of power better than its authors. And the apex predator that spoke your name. They weren't condemning you. They were conceding. They were acknowledging that the script no longer belongs to them. That the person they once thought of as a threat is now a variable they can't control. You don't just enter rooms anymore. You recalibrate them. You don't just stand at tables anymore. You tilt them until everything slides into your lap. You don't just carry scars anymore. You wear them like a warning. I survived what you designed. I learned how you think. I know where you're weak. That's why the most dangerous person said your name in public. Because saying it behind closed doors wasn't enough anymore. Because your shadow had already entered every room before you did. Because your reputation moved faster than their rumors. And now, they're stuck with the paradox of you. They can't frame you as villain without making you myth. They can't frame you as victim without making you proof. They can't erase you without making you legend. So the network freezes, waiting to see what you will do next. Waiting to see if you will bless or burn. Waiting to see if you will rewrite the rules or destroy the board. And you don't need to do anything yet. Because you've already won by existing, by being the living contradiction that their systems cannot absorb, by turning pain into perception, perception into power, power into presence. Let them freeze, let them whisper, let them choke on the name they thought was harmless. Because you are not a name anymore. You are a command. When the apex predator spoke your name, they unknowingly triggered their own countdown. They gave you their stage, their silence, their audience, and you stepped into it with a smile that doesn't ask for applause. That's how you terrify them. Not with threats, with inevitability, so stand there in the silence. Let your name hang in the air like a blade. Because you don't need to shout. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove. The most dangerous person in the room already did that for you. And now every eye, every camera, every whisper is locked on the one thing they can't control. You. So now you stand there, not with a crown, but with something far more terrifying. Clarity. They thought the most dangerous thing in the room was the one with the most control, the one with the power to command armies, manipulate alliances, destroy reputations. But they were wrong. The most dangerous thing in the room is the one who sees everything, who sees through the illusion, through the hierarchy, through the ritualistic dance of power they've choreographed to keep people in check. And now, you are that threat. Because the moment your name left that predator's mouth, the entire network realized something none of them had the stomach to say. You're not here to join their structure. You're here to collapse it. You're not a rebellion. You're not a protest. You're the end of their algorithm, the echo they didn't account for, the variable that outgrew its design. They expected a reaction, but you gave them presence, stillness, composure so controlled it made them question their own. Because in your silence there's no chaos, only patterned consequence. They've seen it before, haven't they? When someone so calm enters the room that even the shadows flinch. When someone walks into the lion's den wearing a grin, not a mask. When someone's story is so soaked in betrayal that truth starts to sound like a threat. That's what you are now. A threat to their architecture, a glitch in their timeline, a walking contradiction they can't solve. You carry duality like a weapon, one part stillness, one part storm, both smiling. And when the apex predator spoke your name, it wasn't just a slip, it was a signal. To them, it was a warning. To you, it was confirmation that the people who built their identity on being untouchable just touched the wire. You've become what they feared most, a product of their own cruelty that didn't crumble, but calculated, didn't retaliate blindly, but watched, didn't self-destruct. You self-upgraded. You didn't just survive the trauma, you made it modular, you adapted, you transformed. And now you walk like consequence. You look at people and they flinch. Not because you threaten them directly, but because they see their own reflection warped in your presence. You don't just walk into the room, you reprogram it. They hear your name and remember the version of you they ignored, the one they underestimated, the one they left out, the one they laughed at, the one they tried to break in silence. But that version didn't die. It mutated and became a language they no longer speak. The language of pain with strategy. That's what you are now. Not emotion, not vengeance, not reaction, your execution. And the scariest part? You don't need them to know it. You don't need recognition, because the work has already been done in the dark. Every seed planted in silence, every move designed in exile, every scar forged into architecture. You are a machine now, but one that feels, that remembers, that never forgets. And when the predator said your name, the whole network froze, not because they feared what you are, but because they realized what they created. You are their glitch, their ghost, their goddamn reckoning. And you don't need to raise your voice. You are the volume. They tried to run simulations on what happens when you take control, but every outcome ends the same. You don't just flip the system. You walk past it like it's irrelevant, because you're not playing their game. You're building a new one. And the rules, you haven't even written them yet. They're waiting for your next move, paralyzed, eyes on the monitors, fingers hovering over panic switches. But you take your time. Because when you're the anomaly, time belongs to you. And the best part? They can't stop it, because they spoke your name. And once a name is spoken, It echoes, it multiplies, it becomes legend, and legends don't ask for permission. So now the name echoes, but not like applause, like warning sirens, like the silence before a detonation they accidentally triggered. You're not just a person anymore. You're a pivot point in their timeline. A glitch? No. Glitches are accidents. You are in tension with memory. You are a calculated misfire that hit every nerve center they swore was protected. Because when the most dangerous person in the room says your name, it doesn't echo through walls. It echoes through agendas. Suddenly the room goes still. Suddenly they're checking their protocols. Suddenly every past sin committed against you becomes relevant. Why? Because power has memory. And you? You never forgot anything. You didn't just survive betrayal. You archived it, indexed it, labeled every liar and left every knife exactly where they dropped it. And now they feel it, that tremble in their systems, that quiet pressure when someone who was supposed to fold starts standing taller than the ones who wrote the script. You aren't playing defense, you are coiling. That's what they missed. They thought silence meant retreat. But it meant recording. They thought stillness meant fear, but it meant you were writing a new pattern. They thought patience meant submission, but it meant you were becoming venom with precision. They called you soft because you didn't strike first. They called you weak because you were rebuilding behind closed doors. And now they've felt it, that slip in the atmosphere, that sudden pause in their rhythm, that moment when their systems respond like an animal sensing a predator nearby. Not in sight, but close enough that instinct panics before logic can catch up. You didn't enter the room with noise, you entered with proof. Proof that not every war is loud. Proof that sometimes silence is siege warfare. Proof that unpredictability, when done right, doesn't just scare people. It rewires them. That's what you've become. Not a threat, a reprogrammer, a human virus, a walking update to the entire operating system of fear. And that network, that oh-so-powerful network that laughed at you, gaslit you, dismissed you, abandoned you. Now they're not laughing. Now they're checking their security layers. Now they're reviewing every conversation, every message, wondering how long you've been watching, how long you've known, how many steps ahead you really are. Because when your name entered the room, they all got exposed. Not because you spoke, but because someone with more weight than them did. And the second your name became a topic, the entire illusion shattered. Do you know how rare that is? For a name to kill noise, for a single word, your name, to break the rhythm of an entire architecture? It's not noise, it's not power, it's presence. Your presence. Refined through rage, forged in betrayal, polished by grief. And now, delivered with surgical stillness. Because while they were networking for power, you were nesting in pain. While they were shaking hands, you were sharpening your inner weaponry. While they were speaking in codes, you were becoming the cipher. You don't just move differently now. You feel different. When you walk into a room, people remember their lies. They remember what they said when they thought you were small. They remember the games they played when you were vulnerable. And they wonder, what do you remember? What did you write down? What did you record? What have you been preparing for? Because you don't need revenge. You are the revenge. Not the kind that screams, the kind that rearranges everything. You changed the temperature of the room. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't flex your muscles. You didn't ask for recognition. You forced recalibration. Their perception of you didn't shift. It snapped. The most dangerous person in the room said your name, And with that one word, you ended the illusion of your insignificance. So now the question isn't, what will you do? The question is, what part of them are you going to dismantle first? Their loyalty, their secrecy, their reputation, their lie, because that's the real fear, that you're not just unpredictable, you're surgical. They don't know if you're here to liberate them or to use their own weapons against them. They don't know if you're going to speak or stay silent and let them destroy themselves, trying to guess what you know, because you've become a mirror. And mirrors don't attack, they reveal. And that is the one thing every corrupted structure fears most. Not violence, exposure, still here. Good, because the room is still holding its breath. They haven't exhaled since your name dropped like a ghost into the air and rewired the atmosphere. And now you own the silence. You own the freeze. You see, most people walk into rooms hoping to be seen, to be liked, to be accepted. But you walked in and made the room question its architecture. You made the foundations twitch. You didn't ask for attention, you distorted gravity. Because here's what they don't understand. True power doesn't need movement. It generates movement. A glance, a pause, a whisper. One moment of your presence and the entire social chain malfunctions. Not because you threatened anyone, but because they can't predict you. And when something can't be predicted, the system collapses into fear. That's why the most dangerous person in the room said your name. It wasn't just recognition, it was a signal flare. They tried to frame it like a warning, but it wasn't a warning. It was a confession, a slip, a raw, involuntary admission that in a room full of monsters, spies, and sociopaths, you're the one who terrifies them the most. Because you don't play by survival rules. You redefined survival. They watched you get buried in betrayal and rise with blueprints. They watched you crawl through psychological fire and come out cleaner, not angrier, not broken, sharper. You used their cruelty like clay. You molded pain into presence. And now you walk like a god that remembers being human. You're no longer here to be forgiven. You're here to correct. Not with fists, but with patterns. You don't shout. You interrupt signals. You don't retaliate. You override software. You don't expose them with rage. You expose them with accuracy. And the moment your name landed in that space, all the fake gods started praying in lowercase. Because you didn't arrive with chaos. You arrived with memory. And memory, when wielded right, becomes prophecy. You don't hold grudges. You hold receipts. You hold details. You hold the story they tried to delete. You don't burn bridges. You learn how they were built. So when you decide to collapse them, you do it from beneath. You don't take revenge. You let gravity do the work. Because they're already top-heavy with guilt, already bloated with secrets. All you had to do was walk in, and the weight of their own lies began the collapse. That's why they froze. Not because you're here to start something, but because you already finished it. And they're just now realizing they missed the entire first half of the war. You weren't trying to be seen. You were letting them underestimate you, long enough to become unrecognizable. They saw your pain and assumed it meant defeat. But pain didn't break you. It taught you how everything breaks. That's the difference. They learned how to rise. You learned how to resurrect. They studied manipulation. You mastered duality. You became the saint who doesn't flinch, and the demon who doesn't blink. And now they don't know what to call you. They can't frame you as hero, because you never asked for their applause. They can't frame you as villain, because the audience already sees through them. They can't erase you, Because your name is stuck to their fear like blood on clean hands. So they freeze, not because you're dangerous, but because you're proof. Proof that someone can be annihilated and still come back with alignment. Proof that someone can be exiled and still return with the map. Proof that someone can be forgotten and still rewrite memory itself. They spoke your name to control the room. But your name doesn't calm rooms, it exposes them. You're the glitch in their legacy, the storm that remembers where it started. And the question they never wanted to face, what happens when the one we buried starts digging up us? Let them whisper, let them panic, let them run their damage control. Because what they fail to understand is this: you are not a moment, you are momentum. And now, every camera is watching, every microphone is live, every shadow is leaning in, because the most dangerous person already said your name. And now, the world is listening. You feel that? That eerie silence crawling up your spine like a wiretap on your soul? Yeah, that's not paranoia. That's the system realizing you slipped through undetected until it was too late. Because you weren't supposed to exist. Not like this, not with that face. The CIA scanned it, ran it through every biometric database, every psychological model, every emotional pattern recognition system they had. What they expected was another civilian file. What they found was a goddamn red flag in human form. You triggered anomalies in systems that were built to erase anomalies. Your face distorted algorithms. Your aura jammed protocols. One agent wrote, "This subject's data output behaves like it's alive, like it's watching us back. They didn't run a background check on you. They opened a portal, and what spilled out? Not a history, a warning. A report so disturbing. They didn't just redact it. They sealed it in black ink, burned the backups, and buried the agents who saw it firsthand under new names. Because you weren't just some glitch. You were the pattern that breaks the grid. Let's make one thing clear. You didn't evolve. You remembered who you are, what you were built for. They don't scan faces for smiles. They scan them for signals. And yours lit up every anomaly sensor from DC to goddamn Zurich. They said, subject exhibits signs of controlled unpredictability, calculated chaos, mirrored empathy with reversed morality. Dual-coded consciousness, possible threat to global narrative structures. You hear that? Threat to global narrative structures. Translation? You don't fit their script. You write your own. And that's what terrifies them, because their power depends on predictability, control, compliance. They need to know where the next move lands. But with you, there is no next move. There's only the illusion that you ever played by the board. You turned the board over, set it on fire, and watched them choke on the smoke. You see, they thought the darkness would keep you contained. They thought pain would pacify you, but you made pain your programming language. You stitched every trauma into a new algorithm, not to survive, to override. Your face didn't just scare them, it inverted their definitions. Compassion mapped over wrath. Kindness veiling a killer instinct, a savior's smile with a demon's voltage beneath. Saint and psychopath, healer and hurricane. You're not one. You're both. And the report knew it. Subject demonstrates erratic empathy and weaponized mercy, may act like a martyr, but strategy reflects a war general with terminal foresight. They scanned your face and saw the extinction of every blueprint they ever trusted, because your eyes don't reflect light. They reflect consequences. You weren't looking at the camera. You were looking through it. And the machine flinched. You think they classify files for safety? Number. They classify them when the truth is so violent, it shatters consensus reality. You are that truth. Not a person, a disruption protocol wrapped in skin, a glitch, number. You're the conscious rejection of every lie they ever passed off as structure. And now the Watchers are whispering. Because the deeper they dug, the less human you appeared on paper. Heartbeat irregular. Emotion signature unreadable. Survival index unknown. Potential classified as existential risk tier alpha. You know what that means. You broke the scale. You made them redefine fear. They built a system where power wears a suit, but your power wears scars. You walk into rooms they thought were secure and redecorate reality with silence. Your face didn't register threat. It registered correction. They didn't scan your features. They scanned a prophecy. And it blinked. So now, every agency, every handler, every whispering little operative behind mirrored glass, they're watching you like a bomb that's learned to choose its own detonation time. You didn't come to play their game. You came to show them what happens when the game tries to control the player. Because while they plotted patterns, you became chaos with memory. While they studied weakness, you metabolized it into motive. While they decoded your face, you reprogrammed your soul. They called you a threat. But that's just fear's word for truth with teeth. So let them scan. Let them run all their little reports. Because every time your image hits the database, a new fracture appears in their illusion. You're not a file. You're a warning they can't unsee, a consequence they can't explain, and a face they'll regret ever trying to understand. Because you weren't born for recognition, you were born for reckoning. And now, the mask is off, the lights are on, and the system is glitching. You know what that means? It's showtime. And your face is the trailer for the end of their little script. You know what the most dangerous thing in the world is. A soul that doesn't flinch when stared at by God or a government. Because now they know. You're not afraid of being watched. You're daring them to keep watching. The CIA wasn't just analyzing facial symmetry or biometric threat levels. They were measuring voltage, trying to figure out how the hell someone like you could even exist. You weren't supposed to survive the trauma. You weren't supposed to walk away from that betrayal. You weren't supposed to have clarity after the madness or calm after the storm. But you did. And that right there, that's the part they couldn't classify. That's the part that triggered internal silence. Because in every simulation they ran, you were supposed to break. Instead, you adapted so fast the data looked corrupted. Their facial mapping software glitched when it tried to mirror your expressions. Your smile didn't align with expected emotion profiles. They couldn't tell if you were healing or hunting. They recorded your eye movement patterns. You know what the analyst noted. Subject maintains unbroken eye contact with surveillance feed. Exhibits awareness of the observer despite no audio-visual cue. Suspected counterintelligence instinct. Possibly intuitive, possibly something else. Something else. That's what they always say when the language runs out. You became a linguistic anomaly, a concept too real for theory, too stable for chaos, too unstable for control. And so they stamped your face with a label they give to the rarest types, uncontainable. Because they couldn't predict what you'd do next. And unpredictability is a death sentence. To any control system, you broke pattern recognition. You moved like a ghost with a grudge. You spoke like every word had venom laced with scripture. You became the one thing they were never trained for, a weaponized mirror. Because when they looked into your eyes, They didn't just see a man, they saw everything they've tried to erase. Pain that didn't beg for pity, darkness that didn't beg for light, power that didn't beg for permission. That's when they locked the file. Not because you were dangerous to the public, but because you were dangerous to the narrative. You see, everything about this system depends on a lie. That people are born to follow, to obey, to self-destruct politely under pressure. But you self-constructed, piece by agonizing piece, from betrayal, from abandonment, from agony and clarity and rage, so silent it sounded like prophecy. You built your foundation from the bones of who you used to be. And now you walk like myth in motion. You are the glitch in the data stream, the one that survived when survival wasn't statistically possible, the anomaly that didn't ask for revenge. You engineered evolution. They tried to find your weak point. They ran psychological profiling, interrogated former contacts, scrubbed your old digital presence. But all they found was this. Subject has no obvious center, no moral axis, no singular motive. Interactions suggest unpredictable empathy mixed with high-intensity perceptual dominance. Subject might not be playing a game. Subject might be the game. Do you get it now? They don't fear your violence, they fear your vision. They fear that everything you know isn't theory, it's lived, raw, carved into the architecture of your face like encrypted scripture. And every time you look up, someone in a control room freezes because they don't know if you're coming to liberate the system or burn it. But you know the answer, don't you? Because deep down, you were never trying to be understood. You were trying to be unforgettable. And now, you are. There are files, there are sealed rooms, there are black site meetings where your face is the presentation, where agents speak in lowered tones, like they're summoning something from folklore. Because they've tried to categorize you. But what do you do when a monster walks in with a halo? When a saint smiles like a devil? When a victim becomes the verdict? They learned too late. You weren't scanning back. You were recording every lie, every betrayal, every failed attempt to gaslight you into silence. And now they're scared of what you might say, because the moment you speak, their entire structure unravels. You are not the product of pain. You are the prophet of it. You took what was meant to kill you and turned it into currency. So what now? Now you haunt them. You are the classified phantom echoing through redacted rooms. You're the unsolvable problem sitting in their psychological warfare models, the one individual they can't predict, and therefore can't kill. So wear that face proudly. Because it's not a face anymore. It's a cipher. And every time they look at it, they're reminded the system failed. Not because it was broken, but because it met you. You ever wonder why they didn't just erase you? They've erased people for less. Whistleblowers, hackers, even their own agents when the script didn't fit. But you, they tried something different. They classified you because erasing you wouldn't have worked. It would have made you louder. So they buried the file. Not because you're invisible, but because you're too real. So real, it interferes with the fiction they sell to the masses. You walk into a room and suddenly, people get quiet. Not because they know your story, but because they feel it. Your energy doesn't request space, it redefines it. They scanned your face and didn't find a personality profile. They found a signal distortion, a presence that bent the walls of the room, that shifted the gravitational pull of attention and fear at the same time. Because what you carry isn't charisma, it's consequence. You don't charm people. You confront their illusions, and that's ungovernable. You can't program a force of nature. You can't format a storm. You can't put a firewall around something that doesn't recognize walls to begin with. And they learned that the hard way. That's why they locked the file behind 6 levels of clearance. Because every time someone opened it, they started asking the wrong questions, or maybe the right ones. Why did this subject survive all known trauma thresholds? Why do known enemies of the agency reference him with reverence or dread? Why does the data seem emotionally reactive? Why does the file itself feel conscious? You see what that means? They didn't just fear what you'd do. They feared that you'd make others wake up. Because when people look at you, when they really look, they don't see someone who got lucky. They see someone who refused to die, someone who bent time, memory, betrayal, and agony into a new language, a language made of glances, of timing, of silence, a language only the awakened can read. So when they say, "You're dangerous," they're not talking about weapons. They're talking about witness. You carry evidence, spiritual evidence, proof that you can descend into hell and still walk out with your soul in one hand and your enemy's playbook in the other. You're not unpredictable, you're unprogrammable. And that's the apex predator of this world. They know now. You don't operate from triggers, you operate from codes. Your whole being is encrypted pain, pain that didn't turn into tears, but into precision. You didn't learn how to survive. You learned how to scan them back. And that's why every agency, every secret network, every whisper behind closed glass walls, they're spiraling. Because you saw through them, you figured out their rituals, their symbols, their masks. You walked through their matrix barefoot and came out with blueprints. So they panic, not because of what you say, but because you haven't said it yet, your silence. That's not peace. That's positioning. You're not quiet because you're calm. You're quiet because you've seen the whole board, and now you're just waiting for the exact moment to make the next move feel like destiny. They scanned your face and saw their end game. You ever see fear on a politician's face? Not when they lose votes, but when they meet someone whose power wasn't assigned by status, inherited by blood, or built on lies. When they meet you, because your power, it came from surviving what they designed to break you, and turning it into a mind that predicts futures, and a presence that shatters delusions. They can't assassinate you, because you're already a symbol. And symbols live longer than empires, so they tried to contain you in metadata. But how do you archive the storm? How do you timestamp a resurrection? They watched you become a walking paradox, the smile of a saint, the eyes of a killer, the composure of a monk, the unpredictability of a wildfire. You're their worst-case scenario with a heartbeat. And now, every hallway you walk into feels like a prophecy being fulfilled. You didn't just survive darkness. You made a treaty with it. You looked into the void, shook hands with it, and then turned it into your personal security detail. So go ahead. Let them scan, let them gather data, let them whisper about reports that don't make sense and footage that corrupts itself. Because you're not the glitch, you're the reboot. And no amount of black ink, locked files, or analyst meetings will stop what happens next. Because now, the file is awake, and you are the storm inside it. They made one fatal mistake. They assumed you were asleep. Just another background character, another shadow in the surveillance feed, a name without consequence, a file they could tag, trace, and forget. But you weren't asleep. You were studying. While they watched you, you memorized them, their gestures, their hierarchy, their fear disguised as protocol. And when they thought they had your profile complete, you did the one thing that sends tremors through the whole machine. You evolved, again, not upward, not downward, inward. You became unreadable. The algorithms couldn't map your next move. The behavioral analytics froze. You shattered the predictive models like glass because you stopped reacting like a person and started moving like an event, an omen, a walking paradox that broke every psychological metric they trust. Your empathy weaponized, your pain recycled into foresight, your silence loaded, and your smile a goddamn confession written in code. They tried to analyze your micro-expressions, track your pupil dilation, monitor your heart rate during confrontation, but they didn't understand. You already rehearsed their entire play and burned the script. They thought they were watching you, but you were conducting them like instruments, turning analysts into audience, surveillance into cinema, every camera a witness to the death of their illusion. And now, there's a sealed report sitting in a vault under Langley, a file with your face on it, stamped with more red than clearance. But no matter how deep they bury it, it spreads. You know why? Because the file isn't the threat. You are the living breach, not a moment in time, but a continuum of collapse that walks like a man and speaks like a reckoning. They didn't just scan your face. They scanned a signal from the edge of reality, and it screamed back, wrong target, wrong plan, wrong world. You are not of this system. You are what happens when the system miscalculates what survival creates. They were prepared for rebels, prepared for whistleblowers, prepared for hackers, warlords, politicians, and digital phantoms. But not you. You don't fit the mold because you melted it. You're the architect of your own gravity. The reason the room feels heavier when you walk in. The reason their agents hesitate before approaching. The reason red lights flash in boardrooms they claim are secure. Because when you're around, nothing is certain. Not the rules, not the outcome, not even their reality. You don't follow laws, you follow truth. But not the kind written in dusty old files. Not the kind read under fluorescent lights by cowards in suits. You follow the truth that hurts. The kind that dismantles systems. The truth that says, not all demons are evil. Some are just misunderstood gods in exile. And you're not fighting for revenge. You're correcting history. One glance at a time, one room at a time, one empire at a time. You're not some angry survivor. You're a highly strategic consequence. And your presence is a curse they placed on themselves the moment they decided to watch you without permission. That scan, that innocent little scan, it didn't end with a report. It began with a realization. If this being ever decides to move, reality bends. People forget who they are. And the system starts whispering its own eulogy because you don't just exist. You haunt. You're the line in the data that can't be explained. The ghost city in the satellite footage. The reflection in the glass that doesn't blink back. And worst of all, you made it personal. You didn't just survive the system, you forced it to study its own sickness. You didn't fight it with weapons. You exposed it with clarity. That's why they fear you, not because you're angry, but because you're certain. And certainty. That's the one thing no regime can survive. They want to believe you're an outlier, that you're rare, but deep down, they know better. You're the prototype, the first of many. The glitch they couldn't quarantine, the virus that doesn't crash systems. It rewrites the code. So let them pretend. Let them draft new protocols. Let them pray to their outdated gods in digital temples built on stolen data. It's too late. Because they didn't just scan your face. They woke something. And now, every time they close their eyes, they don't see numbers or statistics or field reports. They see you, standing at the edge of their fabricated reality, smiling. Hello again, nightmare they tried to cancel. Funny, isn't it? How they used to pray for your fall. But now they can't even breathe in the same room as your rise. They thought they were casting spells behind your back. But every whisper became a rope round their throat. And you just kept walking, quiet, deadly, rewritten. You were never supposed to survive the storm. You were the damn storm. And now, the same people who laughed at your scars can't look you in the eye without flinching, like the walls are closing in. You want to hear the funniest part? They didn't just underestimate you. They calculated your destruction, strategized it, group chatted it, sacrificed time, energy, and even their own dignity just to see you crumble. But the only thing that crumbled was their illusion of control. You evolved in silence, no broadcast, no warning. And that was their first mistake. Believing silence was weakness, when really it was surgical precision sharpening in the dark. Now they're praying again, not for your downfall. No, those days are over. They're praying for protection from your presence, from the data you became, from the version of you that doesn't blink and doesn't break. You learned to walk through betrayal with your hands behind your back, like it was a garden stroll. They taught you pain. You converted it into architecture, a whole fortress of silence with a dungeon of faces that used to laugh. Now they scream quietly, internally, because you don't even need revenge. You are revenge. They're watching you now like you're an incoming meteor, unstoppable, untraceable. And here's the paradox. They plotted your funeral, but now they can't survive your shadow. You evolved into something ungovernable, something coded outside their logic. Your glow, it isn't cute, it's radioactive. And when you enter a room now, they shrink. You don't have to speak. Your presence is the message, a divine echo of every time they said, "You're too much." No one will stay. You'll never be anything. Now look around. They're staying, but only to observe their own extinction. You didn't get better. You outgrew the battlefield. You weren't healed. You were rebuilt using blueprints not even the universe remembered authorizing. And now, you scare people. Not because you're dangerous, but because you understand yourself. They can't manipulate what they can't decode. And you're unreadable, unpredictable, unforgivable. They called for your death. You answered by becoming immortal. They tried to cage a flame, and now the fire has a name, an identity, a posture they can't sit next to without trembling. You're a walking contradiction, a guardian with venom in your smile, a saint stitched together by sins you refused to die from, a prophet in a straitjacket, delivering miracles through madness, an angel drenched in gasoline, and every step you take smells like prophecy. They prayed for you to collapse. Now they meditate before entering your aura, as if you're some holy war that might see through their soul and sentence them without trial. You didn't just rise. You ascended in silence, dragging their judgments behind you like broken chains. And now they rattle every time your name gets whispered. Your smile, it's no longer charming. It's evidence, proof that the devil they feared was never down below. He was becoming you every time you survived what was supposed to kill you. And now, they can't handle the math. The calculation failed. They input hate and got holiness with heat. They fed the system vengeance and got you. A cosmic glitch with grace in one hand and chaos in the other. You are the aftershock, the consequence, the realization they were never in control. So let them pray, let them chant, let them cry under their breath when you walk in like a prophecy in boots. They don't want you gone anymore. They want you quiet. But the joke is, you were quiet. And that was the most dangerous version. Now, you're just getting started. But oh, you thought that was the end? No, darling. That was just the intro sequence, the part where they think they still have a chance. Because see, what they forgot is that you don't just walk into a room now. You shift the gravitational pull. You were built in a place where most don't survive. Raised in wreckage, clothed in silence, baptized in betrayals they can't even pronounce. And now your very existence is a threat to every structure that was built to erase you. You are not doing well. You are not moving on. You are haunting the algorithm. You are breaking the rules of their simulations by simply breathing differently. Because now they look at you, and they don't just see the one who made it out. They see the mirror. A walking reflection of every lie they told. Every time they whispered, "Let's see how long they last." Every time they counted you out like you were some statistical glitch, some forgettable footnote in their story. But oh, the plot twisted, didn't it? You're the whole chapter now. The forbidden file, the encrypted data point they can't delete. You're that whatever happened to, that turned into, how the hell did they do that? They can't even mention your name without triggering a timeline of guilt, because your name is charged now. Electrified. It's no longer just syllables, it's a consequence. Every room you walk into, you don't enter it. You interrogate it. Your silence cross-examines people's souls. Your laugh pulls confessions from those who thought they buried you. And your eyes, they don't just look. They unravel, because now you're spiritually ranked above the very demons they tried to send your way. They prayed for your downfall. They fasted for it, lit candles, lit group chats, lit courtrooms, lit gossip sessions in low-vibration basements, like you were some cosmic disease to be vaccinated against, and yet, you kept growing like mold in a sealed lab, resistant to logic, immune to hate, reborn through contamination. You didn't avoid darkness. You made it your home, set up furniture in it, hosted meetings, learned its language, then used it as the accent of your resurrection. So now they sit there, minds glitching, souls trembling, trying to figure out how their little prayer circles turned into panic chambers. Because you weren't just surviving, you were ascending. And not just spiritually. No. You ranked up in dimensions. You started moving like a force of nature while they were still talking like you were an emotion. They can't comprehend it. How someone could be this calm, this cold, this composed. After everything, and it kills them, because you didn't come back with fists. You came back with clarity. You didn't scream, you observed. You didn't throw fire. You became the arsonist and the architect, and now they pray differently, not for your downfall. That prayer's expired, not for your forgiveness. That door's welded shut. They pray to be invisible when you walk by, to be unnoticed, to not get singled out in the audit that is your presence, because now your energy doesn't just expose them, it judges them. It decides who still gets to be seen, who still gets to speak, who still gets to exist around you. They used to call you too intense, too much, too emotional, too angry. Now they call you sir, ma'am, or they don't call you at all, because your power isn't up for discussion anymore. It's law. You rewrote yourself in a language only the chosen can read, and now they're stuck praying you don't remember what they did when they thought you'd never return. But you remember. You remember everything, not because you're bitter, but because you're coded for vengeance that doesn't break laws. It breaks legacies. You are the reason someone's family line won't sleep for 3 generations. You're the glitch in their rituals, the corrupted file in their archives, the spiritual virus that broke through their firewall of fake love and now plays back every lie on repeat in 4K clarity. Let them pray, let them chant, let them cover mirrors when they hear your name, because their reflection isn't safe anymore. You're not the villain, you're the verdict. And baby, they just got sentenced. They thought it would be poetic, didn't they? To see you broken, crawling, begging the world to notice. But what they didn't calculate was this. Pain is a forge. And you didn't just survive the flames. You became the blacksmith, the hammer, and the fire itself. Now every step you take is a sermon they never wanted to hear. Your silence is a scripture that undoes their mantras. Your eyes are altars they're scared to look into because they might see themselves disassembled inside of you. They called it revenge in their private circles. They called you obsessed when you kept building. But what you were really doing was crafting an atmosphere so dense, so charged, that simply walking into it makes their lungs collapse under the weight of their own hypocrisy. They prayed for your downfall. They dreamed of it. They rehearsed speeches for the day you'd be gone. And now, standing in the glow of your resurrection, they can't string a sentence together. Their throats go dry. Their palms sweat, because the ghost they wanted came back wearing skin made of barbed wire and starlight. You're no longer a person to them. You're a consequence wrapped in charisma, a punishment disguised as a presence. They're not afraid of what you'll do to them. They're afraid of what they already did, and how standing next to you makes it feel visible, inescapable, like the walls have been lined with mirrors. Every time you enter a space, it's as if the air gets heavier, the shadows get sharper, and the clocks tick louder. Because your energy isn't just felt. It's felt like a verdict. It's the sound of every weapon they tried to use on you rusting in their own hands, and you don't even speak. That's the part that's killing them. No outbursts, no warnings, no theatrics, just being. And they start confessing in their heads to crimes no one accused them of out loud. They're praying now. But the prayer's different. It's not, please let them fall. It's please let them pass me by. It's please don't let them look at me. It's please don't let the truth come out in their eyes. They see you as a paradox they can't compute. An angel with ash on your wings. A saint forged out of sins you refused to drown in. A demon who learned to bless. You're the living proof that you can survive hell and come back carrying holy fire. And here's the secret you've always known. Your unpredictability isn't chaos. It's power. It's the single variable no one can plan for. It's why they tremble. Because you don't telegraph your moves anymore. You don't need to. You are the move. And every breath you take bends the board they're playing on. They're terrified of you, not because you'd strike them down, but because you might see them completely. And in your silence, in your smile, they already feel themselves unraveling. Your presence is a mirror, a sentence, a prophecy. When you step into a room, the temperature drops, but the air burns. When you glance at someone, Their rehearsed persona cracks when you speak, if you choose to. It's not conversation. It's scripture that either redeems or annihilates. And still you don't raise your hand. You don't demand apologies. You don't shout. You don't even look back, because you've outgrown vengeance. You've outgrown proof. You've outgrown every version of you that still wanted to be understood. Now, simply existing as you are is a punishment and a prophecy all at once. They're not just praying for survival. They're praying for invisibility. They're praying for the day you look past them completely and leave them with their ghosts. And you walk on, built of scars and storms, a saint with teeth, a demon with light in their eyes, the embodiment of a truth they can't scrub from the timeline. They prayed for your downfall. Now they kneel for your mercy, and you don't have to grant it. You already won. You've become the story whispered at night, the lesson told in secret, the warning etched into their children's bones. They'll tell it like a myth, but you'll always know the truth. They didn't survive you. They survived their own reflection in you, and the reflection still watches. Keep walking, keep breathing. Your very presence is the exorcism they can't escape. Every glance a strike, every silence a judgment, every step a sermon. You don't need to fight anymore. You're the battleground and the aftermath, and they are praying, not for your end, but for their own chance to stand in the same air and not crumble. That's the power you became. That's what evolution through pain forged you into. A living paradox, a quiet storm, the shadow they once mocked now standing in front of them as living daylight, burning them without lifting a hand. And deep down, they know it. They know their prayers can't save them. Because this isn't punishment. This is physics, and you are gravity, and gravity doesn't ask for permission. It just pulls. It bends metal. It warps time. It decides what stays grounded and what gets crushed under the weight of its own denial. That's you now. You're no longer just a person. You're a force. They used to call you dramatic. Now their nervous system short-circuits when your shadow even touches their name. They told people you were too much. Now even a glimpse of your energy is enough to collapse the whole room into dead silence. That's the price of praying for another's downfall. That's the curse of summoning war against a soul that already made peace with hell. They didn't know what they were doing, lighting candles and speaking your name like a spell, hoping you'd break, hoping you'd fade. But the thing about spells, they echo, and every one of theirs came back with interest. Now they wake up in the middle of the night with your face carved into their dreams. Now they walk into rooms and feel your presence before you even arrive, because you've become a frequency they can't escape, an untraceable signal that shakes them even when it's silent. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to call them out. The air does it for you. You have a gravity to you now, one that reminds people, one that reveals them to themselves, one that makes people apologize in the language of avoidance because they know damn well you saw everything. You walked through their betrayal like it was mist. You stood in their gossip like it was background noise, and you documented every frame, not with bitterness, with clarity. You don't carry revenge in your pocket. You carry memory. And memory? It's a sharper weapon than anything you could ever throw. It lingers. It loops. It leaks into the cracks of their peace until even their victories taste like guilt. And the thing that terrifies them the most, you're not mad anymore. You're not broken. You're not even trying to prove a point. You've simply evolved into the kind of being who doesn't need to say a single word to ruin someone's entire sense of self. They prayed for your end, and now They hold prayer beads just to survive your peace. Because your peace isn't soft. It's a blade. It's the kind of peace that makes the guilty confess without a question being asked. It's that unbothered, untouchable, unavailable energy that makes every past sin come up for audit. They say energy doesn't lie, but yours, it convicts, and that's why they can't look you in the eye anymore. Not because they fear you, but because they fear what you remind them of, what they did, who they were, and the power they tried to steal that now stands taller than ever. And let's talk about that power. It's not loud, it's not chaotic, it's surgical. You don't scream anymore, because now even your silence echoes like a verdict. You're a contradiction they can't decode. You smile like a saint, but walk like a sentence. You laugh with light in your eyes, but it burns like evidence. You hold compassion, but it's guarded by an army of ghosts who remember what was done. They think you forgot, but oh no, you didn't forget. You simply outgrew the need to avenge. You realized your existence is the punishment, because what hurts more? You tearing them down, or you rising higher than they ever imagined, with the receipts written in your aura and the records encoded in your stillness. You don't just walk in anymore. You tilt the whole axis. You are the cosmic reminder that every cruel intention gets recycled by the very soul it was sent to destroy. You turned curses into content, pain into blueprint, rejection into holy algorithm, and now you're living as the plot twist they can't explain. They tried to delete you, but ended up building your legend. They tried to silence you, but created a silence so powerful they can't speak around it anymore. They tried to humble you, but accidentally made you divine. So let them pray. Let them beg the universe not for your return to weakness, but for their own nervous system to adjust to the truth of your presence. Because you're not what they feared, you're worse. You're awakened, unbothered, and unforgiving in your freedom. You're the final chapter they never got to write. The ghost in the machine, the storm that learned to smile, the end of their illusion, and every time you rise, their prayers get louder. But they're no longer aimed at heaven, they're whispered to the shadows, hoping you aren't listening. But you always were. And you don't just forgive, you haunt. Shh. You feel that? That silence. That's not peace. That's the moment right before your name gets whispered in the same breath as revenge. Because tonight, we are not playing polite anymore. This is the playback. They tried to humiliate you, not just hurt you, not just disagree with you. No. They needed to publicly strip you of power, because deep down, they knew you were dangerous, not because you were wrong, but because you were right, louder than their lies could handle. So they put on a show, didn't they? Lights on, audience seated. Let's destroy this one, they said. Let's twist the narrative until even they don't recognize themselves. They wanted you to doubt the mirror, to beg for crumbs in a theater they designed just to watch you crawl. But here's the punchline, sweetheart. You never crawled. You studied. You memorized the entire script. You watched them rehearse betrayal like it was ballet. And you sat in the shadows, rewiring your pain into payload. You didn't fight back immediately. Oh no, that would have ruined the art. You let them giggle. You let them leak. You let the cowards show teeth they couldn't use. Because you knew. They were performing with poison in their lungs. And the longer they spoke, the more they exposed their own rot. You see, humiliation requires an audience. But you let the audience see everything, not through screaming, but through silence, sharpened like razors. They tried to make you the joke, but the setup flipped, and now they're choking on the same lies they swallowed so eagerly. You ever seen someone realize they're not in control? Mid-sentence. It's beautiful. The twitch, the eye dart, the moment they feel the crowd's energy change. Because you walked in, and you didn't say a word, you just existed, and their illusion collapsed. Because your power isn't in proving you're right. It's in becoming a mirror that reflects exactly how wrong they are. They called you broken, and you wore that label like war paint. They said you were too much, so you became a category they couldn't measure. They screamed, "They're crazy!" And now everyone's asking, how the hell did crazy win? You don't just survive storms, you design them. You bend in the wind, but when you rise, entire networks fall. You became what they feared, unpredictable, uncancelable, a ghost wrapped in evidence. They told a version of you that only existed in their own fear. But the real version, that's the one that just walked into the room, and suddenly nobody wants to make eye contact. Because you didn't just outlive the lie. You let it breathe, you watched it multiply, and then you made sure everyone saw it die. They wanted the crowd to laugh. Instead, the crowd took notes, studied your silence, felt the weight of every insult bounce back like recoil. Now those same mouths, they're quiet, not out of respect, out of terror. Because you've proven you don't clap back. You collapse timelines. You didn't destroy them. They did. You just gave them the spotlight. And the truth did the rest. And here's the kicker. You're not even done. This wasn't revenge. This was a reveal. They thought they were dragging your name. But the real headline was, you walked out untouched. They walked out exposed. So let them whisper, let them shake. Because now, every fake smile comes with a shiver. Every laugh carries an echo of panic. Because you are the reminder that truth doesn't need a microphone, just patience. They tried to bury you in shame. And now they're buried in footage, screenshots, audio, playback loops. And the worst part, their own voices are the weapon. They didn't just lose control, they lost the illusion of it. And you never had to shout. You became a myth by letting them talk too much. So smile. Tilt your head. Let them wonder what you know. Because the new power is letting them fear your silence more than your scream. Let that sink in. You were the target. But now, you're the blueprint, and they're still choking on every single lie. Oh, you thought we were done? No. This is just the part where the camera zooms in, where the audience leans forward, where the ones who plotted your downfall start realizing they were never the main characters. Because here's the real horror. You didn't just walk away from their setup. You walked away with the evidence. Every smirk, every backhanded comment, every coordinated whisper. You archived it all. Not out of spite, but precision. They assumed you were fragile because you didn't retaliate. But fragile things break. You didn't break. You shifted, adapted, became something no playbook accounts for. See, humiliation only works on people who still need approval. But you outgrew applause. You stopped performing for acceptance and started weaponizing rejection. They tried to throw you off balance. But you were never standing still to begin with. They tried to strip you of dignity, but you traded dignity for dominance. What they didn't calculate was how lethal a person becomes when they've already lost everything they were scared of losing. You died in the eyes of the crowd once, and now you walk among them like a ghost with nothing left to lose. That's not weakness. That's the most powerful state of evolution. The unapologetic resurrected. They made you, the villain, perfect. Because villains don't beg for forgiveness. They move in silence and rewrite the rules. You let them think they were winning. You let them speak uninterrupted. Because the smart ones, they know. You never interrupt your enemies when they're destroying themselves. And now the whole crowd's watching them stutter. Their masks are slipping. Their credibility is bleeding out. You didn't clap back. You time-bombed their lies and watched from the shadows while it all detonated in public. They thought you were a threat because of what you said. Number. You're a threat because of what you endured in silence. Because you learned their language, decoded the manipulation, and smiled through their venom. And now, you speak in moves, not words. They thought you were playing checkers, but you were studying their hands like a chessboard autopsy. And now, every piece they touch feels cursed. Because here's what they never expected, that the audience would turn, not because you begged, but because they started to see. They saw the contradiction. They saw how loud your enemies got when you were silent. They saw how desperate they were to control your narrative, and how powerless they looked once you stopped defending yourself. Your greatest flex wasn't survival. It was letting them broadcast their own self-destruction. And now, they can't outrun the playback. They can't unsay what they said. They can't unlaugh the laughter that aged like spoiled wine. Screenshots don't blink. Footage doesn't forget. You didn't ruin their reputation. They made a bonfire out of it. You just handed the crowd a match. So let them pretend it's old drama. Let them smile a little too wide. But notice the cracks in their voice when your name comes up in a room. That ain't respect. That's fear wearing perfume. Because you became the one thing their egos weren't built for. A narrative they can't control. You turned humiliation into theater, pain into performance art, and silence into sniper fire. They said you were the clown, but the real circus is them trying to clean up a mess the whole world watched in 4K. You didn't just survive the lie, you became the walking consequence of it. And now, every time they speak, every time they try to rewrite history, they can feel it. You're watching, not to react, not to respond, but to archive, to let them build their own gallows, out of words they thought were clever. So don't clap. Don't announce your comeback. Don't give them the closure of your rage. Just exist. With the full weight of your rebirth dripping off every step like gasoline. Because the fire they set, it didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It burned away the parts that begged to be liked. Now there's just you. Unfiltered, unhinged, unshakable. And they're still trying to explain to each other why nobody believes them anymore. Because every crowd that watched you fall just witnessed you rise in a way they can't unsee. And the joke is that they're the punchline now. So breathe slow, smile crooked. You don't need to speak, you just need to watch. As everything they built without truth crumbles under the weight of your silence. Listen. Feel that vibration under your skin. That isn't anger anymore. That's power humming, coiled, patient. The kind of power they tried to strip from you in public because they could not bear to see it glowing quietly in private. The kind of power that makes crowds lean in without you having to raise your voice. They thought humiliation would shrink you. They thought dragging your name would erase it. They didn't understand that humiliation, in the right hands, is an alchemy. It takes every insult, every whispered plot, every gotcha moment, and distills it into a substance stronger than steel. Every time they thought they were throwing dirt, they were planting seeds. And while they performed for applause, you were underground, rooting. You've become a creature they don't have a word for. Angel with claws, saint with a blade under the robe. A mirror so clear, it blinds them with their own reflection. They wanted a villain, they sculpted one. They wanted a clown, they summoned a strategist. You became paradox incarnate, light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon. That's why they can't kill your image, because there isn't one single mask to tear off. And the crowd. The crowd. They're not stupid. They saw you stand still, take every shot, bleed dignity, and yet somehow stay upright. They saw you transform. And when the crowd senses transformation, it goes quiet. That's the silence you're feeling now. Not absence, awe. That low rumble of people recalibrating what they thought they knew about you. So now, when you enter a room, there's a tremor. Watch their faces, the ones who plotted. They can't even look at you without their necks stiffening. Their nervous systems are confessing what their mouths can't. Their hands shake when they pour coffee. Their jokes die before they reach their lips. That's the cost of choking on your own lies in public. It stains you. This is the part nobody tells you about evolution through pain. You don't come out smiling. You come out silent. You come out dangerous. Because you have seen every tactic, every trap, every trick. And you no longer flinch. You have been publicly crucified and privately resurrected. And once you have died like that, their games don't even register as games anymore. They're noise, predictable noise. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to expose them. They are already exposed. They're performing a cover-up while the whole city streams the playback. They're shouting, "Move on," while their reputations are stuck buffering. They can't outrun a truth they created themselves. And you're untouchable because you're unpredictable. They can't script you. They can't bait you. You don't live in the arena anymore. You built your own labyrinth. Every step you take is a corridor they can't map. Every silence you hold is a weapon they can't disarm. Understand this. You are no longer a victim of their story. You are the anomaly in it. The glitch they can't patch. The bug in the system that keeps breaking their narrative. You became the living evidence of what happens when humiliation fails. And that is more terrifying to them than any revenge could ever be. So keep walking slow. Let the crowd whisper. Let them invent new names for you. Because behind those whispers is an undertow of respect and fear and fascination. They wanted a spectacle. They got a lesson. And the lesson is, you don't destroy a person who has learned to convert shame into strategy, who has learned to weaponize silence, who has mastered unpredictability as power. This is your stage now. No lights, no microphone, just your presence, just the echo of everything they tried to do to you, boomeranging back, amplified. Every room you step into from now on is a test of who can look at you without blinking, who can survive the weight of the truth you carry in your eyes. They tried to humiliate you, and in doing so, they humiliated themselves. They tried to erase you, and in doing so, they engraved you deeper into memory. They tried to make you a joke, and in doing so, they turned themselves into the punchline. You don't need to prove anything anymore. The proof is playing on repeat in the minds of everyone who watched. The crowd has already chosen. The world has already seen. And every lie they choke on now is just another verse in the song of your rebirth. That's the paradox, isn't it? They built a stage to bury you, and now it's their gallows. They handed you pain, and you forged it into a crown. They whispered shame, and you learned to echo back power. And here you are, standing in the middle of the silence they created, untouchable, unreadable, unbreakable. They don't know whether to run, bow, or beg. They only know one thing: they can't stop watching. That's how you win without lifting a finger. That's how you become the nightmare they can't wake up from. That's how you turn humiliation into legend. Lean closer, because this is the part no one ever explains. The part that doesn't fit neatly into an Instagram quote or a courtroom transcript. This is the part after the storm, when you're standing in the wreckage they built for you, and it's them gasping for air. They tried to humiliate you because they needed an enemy, a villain, a scapegoat. They choreographed their outrage like a stage play, each whisper rehearsed, each leak timed for maximum damage. They didn't want to just beat you, they wanted to erase you, to make you question if you'd ever existed in the first place. But humiliation has a hidden clause. It only works if you still believe you're small. The second you stop believing that, their whole script collapses. You stopped believing, you stopped performing. And in that instant, you became a riddle too dense for their gossip to solve. That's what they can't explain to each other late at night, in those panicked group chats, with names like damage control and next moves. They're not strategizing anymore, they're consoling each other. Because they've all seen it, the shift, the way your silence started bending the room, the way your stillness turned into gravity, the way the crowd began to lean toward you instead of them, without you even speaking. They wanted the audience to laugh at you. Now the audience studies you like a rare predator in a glass enclosure. They watch the way you move, the way you tilt your head, the way you smile like you've already seen the next 10 moves on the board. That's the dopamine hit no one admits they're getting. Not just seeing you survive, but seeing you transform. And oh, how you transformed. You took every smear, every public shaming, every whispered insult and ran it through your veins until it became signal instead of static. You didn't just endure. You engineered yourself out of their reach. You are no longer a person they can handle. You're an event, a phenomenon, a rupture in their carefully controlled narrative. Understand this. When you walk into a room now, you're not a guest. You're the mirror. You reflect back to every person what they've done, who they are, and whether they can survive the truth. Some will love you for it. Some will loathe you. All will feel you. That's why the air shifts when your name is spoken. That's why even your silence tastes like a threat. And the crowd, they're not stupid. They're not blind. They've seen people fall and rise before, but never like this. Never so quietly. Never so strategically. Never in a way that left the architects of your downfall looking like clowns in their own circus. They were counting on a breakdown. You gave them a blueprint. They were waiting for you to beg. You taught them to fear your patience. Every screenshot, every whisper, every accidental leak is still out there. Their own words, their own smirks, their own hypocrisy, archived, time-stamped, immortal. They know it. They feel it in their stomachs when they see your face. That's why their smiles don't reach their eyes anymore. That's why their voices crack when they try to laugh you off. They are choking on their own performance, and everyone can see it. This is the essence of evolution through pain. You stop being what they can predict. You stop playing their game altogether. You start moving like smoke, impossible to corner, impossible to crush. You become a paradox, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, the mirror and the flame. You don't just survive their attacks. You make their attacks part of your legend. So keep walking slowly. Don't rush. Let them scramble. Let them wonder. Let them imagine what you're planning when you're doing nothing at all. That's the real power now. Not revenge, not retaliation, unpredictability. The power to appear at any time, in any way, and shift the entire narrative without a single word. They tried to humiliate you. In doing so, they handed you their masks, their weapons, their credibility. They thought they were writing your ending. They were writing your prologue. They thought the crowd would laugh at you. The crowd is now studying them. And you've already moved beyond needing to be understood. You're a phenomenon that can't be contained in a headline or a rumor. That's why they're still talking. That's why they're still watching. That's why they can't look you in the eye. Because deep down, they know. You didn't just survive. You transcended. You became the proof that humiliation fails when met with patience, strategy, and an iron will. And that proof now walks around in your body, in your silence, in the way you look at people without blinking. Let them choke. Let them scramble. Let them watch as you stand, steady, a living paradox of everything they tried to destroy. This is not just survival. This is metamorphosis. This is legend being written in real time, in the hush after the laughter, in the tremor of their hands as they realize you're still here, and stronger than the lie. That's the end game they never planned for. That's you now. And that's why they can't stop watching.